What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Brandon, and I thought I'd just take this opportunity to just talk to you guys today. No photo shoots today. So I'm introducing a new segment to my YouTube channel. It's called Raw and Uncut. I think it's time to really kind of just get my opinions out there without all the, maladies and, trying to be politically correct and all this other stuff. All right, it's just me talking to you guys straight up, telling you like it is. I don't think there's enough photographers who are just telling you straight up how it is. So I think it's just time to get raw and uncut. Alright guys, so I'll tell you what, I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about Sony. I'm gonna give you a little bit of history. So I've been shooting Sony now for about 3 years. Before that, I shot Canon, as you guys all know. I had the 70D, 80D, 5D Mark II, 3, and 4, and a bunch of other old Canon cameras that I had. I had such a ton of L glass, and I was just loving Canon. I love the DSLR. I love the big cameras, just like a lot of us did back in the day. So what happened is, when I had the 5D Mark IV, I was waiting on the next big thing to come out because I just wanted something full frame. I wanted something nice to pair with my 5D Mark IV. And we were so waiting on the 6D Mark II, hands and knees. When the 6D Mark II came out, I was so disappointed. All right, I was blown away. I hated Canon for it. And that's when I left Canon. It was an indication to me that Canon really was not listening to their consumers and what they wanted. Canon just wanted to do their own thing, and they was just not listening. And at the time, Sony was just booming in the market. Everybody was shooting with really like the A7R2, and it was just like the biggest thing since sliced bread. The eye autofocus, everybody, the catching point, everybody was just, loving this new small form factor type mirrorless camera. And so I went out and played with it a little bit, went to Best Buy, went all these places, and like me and like a lot of other people, that's when we decided to make the switch to Sony and sell all my L glass, sell all my Canon stuff, and move to Sony. Well, when we made the switch to Sony, it was the best thing ever, because it was nothing. The Sony system is all about reliability. That's why eye autofocus was so big. The small form factor, and being able to get more lenses and bodies and, all these things into a much smaller package, and still be able to produce some amazing images, amazing quality. And as it got bigger and a lot of, Sony and all of us content creators start coming out with more content for you guys to see, everybody started to realize like, wow, having this big DSLR versus this small mirrorless camera, I would like to try that out. Here's the real, okay? The real reason why a lot of us switched from Canon to Sony, it wasn't because of the colors. Really put that. It was because Sony was rocking that eye autofocus. That was the selling point of everybody's switching. It was, always having that insurance that eye autofocus, that those eyes are in the focus, and the speed and everything. But DSLRs, everybody loved DSLRs too because of how big they were, and you really felt like a photographer when you held that camera. You held those DSLRs. That was the biggest selling point for Sony. That's what kept Sony above everybody else. Since then, now that we're here now in 2019 going into 2020, what's holding Sony apart from everybody else? What's keeping them above in the mirrorless game? Now Nikon has came out with mirrorless cameras, Canon has came out with mirrorless cameras, Panasonic, everybody's dropping mirrorless cameras now. Everybody's doing eye autofocus. Everybody's doing, 7, 8, 9, 10 frames a second. Everybody's doing 4K, 4K at 30, even some with 4K at 60. What is Sony doing now? Sony came out with about 6 or 7 crop sensor cameras. They came out with the A6000, A6300, A64, 65, 66. Every last one of those cameras has the same exact sensor in it. I can take a picture with my A6000 versus any other cameras and pretty much get the same exact shot. What is Sony going? What's Sony's next big thing? What's the next big move to keep them up on top in the mirrorless game? Because as we see it now, and as we're looking at this, and by the time this video comes out and we see other things as we go into 2020, we know that Canon is about to drop a bunch of cameras to basically go with their RF lens lineup. I don't know what the future holds for Sony. The reason why a lot of people are switching back to Canon or thinking about Canon is because those factors that kept Sony separated and on top of the rest of the game is basically no more. Canon has almost as just as much of autofocus reliability as Sony does. It's still not up there on par with Sony. I mean, I have the EOS R, which is what I'm filming you on right now, but it's getting there. Nikon has a decent eye autofocus. Everybody's doing their thing. What are the factors that are keeping Sony separated now? Because now people can go back to Canon, get that eye autofocus, get all the things that they did not get with the 5D Mark IV, 6D Mark II, and all these other things. Everybody wanted that eye autofocus. Everybody wanted that, small form factor reliability. What do you do now when all other manufacturers have the same thing that you have? What's going to set you apart now? Well, Canon is doing it. Canon now has invented a new camera system in the RF system with new glass, new amazing glass. I have one of them. It's the only one I really need, but they are inventing things. And then now they're coming out with more bodies to basically match up with this RF lineup. What is Sony going to do to keep their head above in this game? Maybe they feel like they don't have to do anything. Sony now has the A7R4, which I have, the 61 megapixel camera. Still shoots 10 frames a second. Still has core 4K, dual car slots. I mean, those are the type of things that are just becoming basic right now. Dual car slot, 4K. Eye autofocus. Every camera pretty much has that same thing. My 6400, my 6500, no, they don't have dual car slots and all. They have 4K eye autofocus. They're your basic stuff. What is Sony going to do next? They're coming out with the A7S III soon, probably. Whenever they come out with it, it's going to be a video camera. Great. But what are they going to do to capitalize on what everybody else is doing? What is going to set Sony apart now from everybody else? Here's my thoughts. Here's what I think Sony is probably going to have to do. They're going to have to follow in the same footsteps as Canon, which means the future of Sony is going to pretty much go down a road of a new system, a new mount with new glass. Right now we have regular Sony glass, then you have the G glass, then you have the G Master glass. I believe, and Sony and Canon does too. They have L glass, they have Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 glass in that L series. I believe Sony will have to come out with a new system, a new mount, new glass, something innovative, something that's going to set them on top of the rest, something different. I don't think that Sony can continue to go down this same road is continue to produce pretty much similar or the same cameras now going into 2020, and people still look at, you know, buying the Sony system. I'm a Sony shooter. I'm Sony. I have stake in Sony. Sony is where I shoot at. I also have other manufacturers. That's what I do, that I shoot with. But I am a Sony shooter. I don't know what the future holds for Sony. I can't wait to see what Sony is going to do. But right now, I see that the mirrorless world and the mirrorless systems are really up for grabs right now, because everybody's throwing stake, everybody's putting their all into mirrorless, everybody's going smaller, everybody's going to the mirrorless system, all manufacturers. So what does the future hold for Sony? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. What is Sony going to do? What do you think about the moves that Canon is going to make in 2020? Who else do you see competing with Sony and Canon at this point in time? I mean, me, nobody. Not even Nikon, not Panasonic, not Fuji. Nobody's competing with Canon or Sony. You either have a Canon or you have a Sony. That's it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I like these talks. I'm definitely just going to be bringing you guys more of these talks. And let's continue this conversation in the comments. All right. Until next time, this has been 100% raw and uncut, and I'll see you later.